Okay, so I started watching Card Captor Sakura a few weeks ago, but that's not why you clicked on this video. So here are 5 things that I do as finishing touches to my illustrations. Before we start, I want to say that you shouldn't let what I say here limit you. I change my process for making illustrations all the time, so you should also just do what you want to do. Sort of like that time I drew Rain without line art and just guessed my way through half of the rendering process. First things first, by last things fast, after completing the rendering for my illustration, I like to check my values just to see if everything conveys itself well. Well, would you look at that? I dare say I'm pretty good at this. Here at this part, I figured her cheek shadow wasn't dark enough, so I decided to make it darker. Very noticeable, I know. Next things next, backgrounds. For me, adding backgrounds to an illustration can really bring the atmosphere to life. It could also bring the thermosphere and exosphere to life, but that's another topic. However, I think that adding a background always goes well for me when I already have the background envisioned before I even start rendering the character. So I only really make backgrounds whenever I have them in mind before I start the illustration, during the rough stages of the sketch, for example. I also think that there are some illustrations that shouldn't have a background and should focus solely on the character in the spotlight. Point being, if I plan the background beforehand, I make it. If it looks like shit, I delete it. If it looks good, then I keep it. Third things third, blurring the backgrounds of your illustrations can make it easier for the viewer to focus on the subject of your illustration, as you can see on these illustrations that I made. Moreover, you can also blur parts of your character in the illustration to add more depth to it. You can see this technique being used on these illustrations that I didn't make. Fourth, this wispy effect that I got from Natsume-san on YouTube. I really love their work. I found them through their rendering tutorial video, which you should definitely check out, by the way. Their art style is just so scrumptious, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't use this effect all the time, but when I do use it, it makes my illustration more dreamlike and ethereal, if that makes any sense. It adds calmness to my illustration while also giving more for the viewer to look at. Fifth, chromatic aberration. I don't know what this means, but let me just look it up real quick. Okay, let's see. Chromatic aberration. What is chromatic aberration? The common optical problem occurs when the lens is a common optical problem that occurs when a lens is either unable to bring all wavelengths of colors to the same focal plane or when waves of color are either focused at different positions in the focal plane. Lens dispersion. I think it's easier to just this thing. Just this is what I'm talking about. This thing. See, now doesn't that look better? Oh, by the way, the video's not over. Finally, the last trick I use to finish off my illustrations is this neat little thing called a gradient map. This tool has made some of my best works to date. The reason I use it is to make the colors and values of my illustrations pop out more to the eye. I also use it to change the mood and color atmosphere of an illustration. For example, for my Kinomoto Sakura illustration, you can see how the pinks and blues of the illustration pop out more when I add a combination of gradient maps on low opacity on top of the entire thing. This is before, and this is after. Okay, So I've been really loving Cardcaptor Sakura. I love the characters. I love the